what would you say Cleveland's decision is if Cam Ward goes out 1? Cleveland sitting there at 2. Giants sitting there at 3. Cleveland does have the first pick on Friday night. So what do you think they would do if Cam Ward goes off the board first and they don't move up to 1 between now and Thursday night of the draft, Todd?
Well, a shameless plug. I just dropped my mock 2.0 this morning. Google the McShay report. You're clearly not a subscriber yet, which hurts my feelings.
Todd, you have listen, man.
Brockman, would you get Rich on? Come on, I know you're the brains behind this.
McShay, we're on it.
Todd, I'm going to blame what I always do. My 3 children. Yep. I'm going to blame it on them. You know, it's you know what I mean. It's just I'm trying to be a dad and a host.
I got you, man.
You know, I'm juggling. I'm spinning plates, bro. So, but we will be all over that because we mock it like a hurricane, Todd. So let's do that.
I like Brockman's yesterday rock out with your mock out. Right?
Okay,
that was TJ. That was TJ.
That was TJ.
I'm the other guy, Todd. That was.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. So
I caught it on social media.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm love on the mocks, which is
I heard it kind of dates you a little bit.
Understood,
but no.
Guilty.
So
guilty.
my point in all of this, in addition to the shameless plug of the McShay report, please Google it and subscribe.
Please. Yes.
I went with Cleveland taking Shedeur Sanders, and here's why. None of us know exactly what the answer is in Cleveland. They're still trying to figure out, is it going to be Russell Wilson? Is it going to be Kirk Cousins? Are we going to make a trade there? But at the end of the day, there's a lot of elements to the Cleveland decision at 2. The first is you're in salary cap purgatory, okay? And that's not going to change next offseason. You're not going to have all this money freed up where you can go bring in a guy who's going to solve a lot of your problems. So there's a short term of needing to win now, because if they're picking this high next year, and we're talking about Garrett Nussmeier and some of the other quarterbacks for 2026, there's a good chance that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are without jobs in Cleveland. So you've got to be able to win a lot of games now, and you got the defense to do it. You got some weapons on the offensive side to do it. To me, Andrew Berry is the GM. My greatest asset in getting out of this salary cap hell that we're in and trying to solve this quarterback situation is I got a head coach in Stefanski who won 11 games with Case Keenum, who won 10 games with Kirk Cousins, who's won games with quarterbacks that are really fast processors, extremely accurate throwing the football, great when they're protected and on rhythm, but don't have elite arms and don't have elite mobility. And that perfectly describes what Shedeur Sanders is as a prospect, right? And so I'm looking at this and I'm saying, yeah, I could go Abdul Carter here, and that would be, I mean, could you imagine how many points would you have to score with Myles Garrett and Abdul coming off the edges? Like
3.
Not many.
3.
So I would totally, I would totally understand that, and I'm huge on Tyler Shuck. We can get to that later. The Louisville quarterback. Try to take him in round 2 if he's still available when you pick at 33. But if I've got a guy who can develop this young quarterback and I'm bringing in a veteran to try to help win games at least early in next season, that might be the formula to get out of this mess. And it's one of the all-time messes that an organization in the NFL has been in because of that Deshaun Watson contract. So I'm not saying I have great information on that they're leaning heavily towards Shedeur, but I try to put myself in the situations or the shoes of the people making the decisions, and that makes a lot of football sense to me.
Todd McShay here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, I not to put you in a position of getting in the heads of others, but why am I hearing Shedeur Sanders doesn't even have a first-round grade on some evaluators?
Because he doesn't.
Okay.
Because he doesn't.
So then,
because not many organizations in the league have a Kevin Stefanski. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it from a skill set standpoint, he lacks the mobility that a lot of teams are looking for, and the combination of the arm and mobility when you're talking about drafting a player in the top 5, right? It's not going to work everywhere. And obviously, that the weather and the climate there is not ideal for that. However, I have talked to plenty of people in the league who have a second-round grade or late first on Shedeur. And I even said I had conversations with 2 people that are there. If you're in the room, as you well know, for those 15-minute interviews in the combine, for most teams, you're not necessarily the decision maker, although that person is in that room. You're one of the counsel, if you will, that's helping make that decision. And I talked to two people that were in the room, teams that are drafting in the top 10 that need a quarterback for other organizations that basically, to paraphrase and summarize, it didn't feel like, compared to all the other interviews we've ever done, and even in this year's combine, Shedeur didn't give off the vibe or the sense that he cared an awful lot about what we thought of him. Okay. And so I think there are a couple teams I know there are a couple teams in the top 10 that are like, yeah, if he's around in round 2, but we don't get the sense he wants to come here. And then you go back to the fall when we started hearing from Coach Prime. Like, I'm absolutely going to factor into the decision, and there's some organizations that I just don't want my son to go play for. And so maybe those are the organizations that he doesn't want his son to go play for. I'm never going to give up those sources, but I can tell you it wasn't from Cleveland. And so you combine that with some of the stuff on social media with Shedeur, with Bazana, I guess, the top prospect in Cleveland's, baseball organization, and some of the other things that have come out. It looks like Cleveland would be on the short list of teams where they would want to go. So I'm just putting some tea leaves, connecting some dots here. And I think that it's a possibility, but for many teams in the league, with the interviews, with the tape, he's not rated as one of the top 5 players in this draft.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.